Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are going to get a little bit weird.
Good weird, though. The best kind of weird.
Oh, yeah.
The kind of weird that, keeps you up at night staring at the ceiling and wondering if the ceiling is actually there.
Absolutely. We are setting the vibe right now. Imagine it's late at night, the wind is maybe howling a little bit outside.
A little atmosphere, yeah.
And you're sitting in a dimly lit living room in Elmira, New York. The year is 1965. We are diving back into the Seth material.
And specifically, we're looking at a session that balances some really heavy, almost chilling existential philosophy with some very practical, almost playful experiments in consciousness.
It's a wild ride.
It really is.
It's a mix of who am I really and like, hey, watch me do this magic trick with a clock.
Exactly. It's metaphysics meets parlor games. It's fantastic.
Before we unlock the secrets of the universe, though, we have a couple of housekeeping notes.
The important stuff.
First, a mandatory disclaimer. This podcast is distributed free of charge on all major platforms for educational purposes. We are here to learn, to explore, and to share.
We aren't gurus. We're just nerds with microphones.
That's it.
And the specific text we are cracking open today is Session 211. This comes from the early sessions, Book 5 of the Seth material.
And the date of record.
November 24th, 1965.
A Wednesday.
And we had to give a huge shout out to the publisher, New Awareness Network.
Absolutely. They're the ones keeping this material alive. Without them, this stuff might just be, gathering dust in an archive somewhere.
And honestly, what we are doing here today, it's just a taste.
Oh, it's the appetizer. Yeah. If you really want to understand this stuff, you have to go to the source. You need to read the books.
Please go to setcenter.com/the early sessions.
Yeah.
Seriously, bookmark it. Go there after you listen to this. Buy the books, support the publisher.
It's worth it.
But for now, stick with us.
So let's start with a question. A hook, if you will.
Okay, lay it on me.
Who are you? I'm the person talking into this microphone. I'm the guy who had a bagel for breakfast this morning.
Are you, though? I mean, that's who you are right now. That's who you are when your eyes are open and the sunlight is hitting your face.
Yeah.
But what happens when you go to sleep? Who is the you that dreams?
I mean, usually I think it's just me, but confusing.
Yeah.
Like, me, but I forgot to wear pants to math class. Or me, but I can suddenly fly if I flap my arms hard enough.
Right. We tend to view that as a lesser version of ourselves. A glitchy version.
Yeah, the B-side.
But in this session, Seth, the entity speaking through Jane Roberts, he challenges that entire assumption. He suggests that we are looking at reality through a pinhole.
A pinhole, I like that.
We study the physical universe, we study our waking psychology, and we think we have the whole picture. But Seth argues that the sleeping self is just as real, just as valid, and honestly, just as much you as the person sitting here right now.
It's that vibe of existential curiosity. It's fun to think about, but then you really sit with it for a minute, and it's like, wait a second. If I'm someone else for 8 hours a night, which one is the real me?
Or are they both real? And that's where we're going today. We're going to try to introduce you to the stranger in your bed.
Okay, so let's set the scene for the session itself. It's 9:00 p.m., Wednesday, November 24, 1965. Jane Roberts is the medium.
Her husband, Robert Butts, who Seth calls Joseph, is taking the notes. And the energy in the room is different tonight.
Why is that?
It is. Jane is fired up. Usually Seth comes through clearly, but when there are witnesses, the energy ramps up. It's like a performance.
Oh, an audience.
And tonight, they have guests. Bill and Peggy Gallagher are there.
And Seth has nicknames for them, which I love. It makes him feel so much less like a distant ghost and more like a witty uncle. He calls Bill the Jesuit.
Which is funny because Bill was actually a former Jesuit scholastic.
So he's spot on.
He's poking fun, but it's totally accurate. He's acknowledging Bill's entire background and his intellectual framework in just 2 words.
And Peggy is the cat lover.
Simple, descriptive, and apparently Peggy really loved cats.
So Seth is in high spirits. He actually opens the session saying, "For a spirit, I am indeed in a rather high mood myself."
I love that dry humor. He's a non-physical energy personality essence, but, he's feeling good. He's ready to teach.
And he wastes no time. He jumps right into what he calls dream experiments.
And this isn't just keep a dream diary. This is technical. Seth is giving them instructions on how to analyze the very fabric of their dream life.
Okay.
And to do that, he introduces a crucial distinction between what he calls primary reality and secondary reality.
Okay, let's unpack this, because this part tripped me up a little when I was reading it. It feels like we need to redefine what real even means.
We do. So think about walking. In your waking life, you walk down the street. That is a physical action. Your muscles contract, your feet hit the pavement, gravity holds you down.
Yep.
Seth calls that a secondary reality because it involves physical matter.
Okay, so secondary basically means physical in this context.
In this context, yes.
Yeah.
It means the expression of an idea through a physical medium, the medium being your body, the sidewalk, whatever.
Okay, makes sense.
Now, in a dream, you also walk. You feel your legs moving, you see the scenery passing by, you might even feel the wind on your face.
Sure, happens all the time.
But your physical body is lying in bed. It's paralyzed, essentially,
Yeah.
for your own safety.
Right. So usually the skeptic in us just says the dream walking isn't real, it's a hallucination. It's just neurons firing randomly.
Exactly. But Seth flips that. He says that the sensation of walking, the intent of motion, the consciousness of movement, that is part of what he calls the primary of motion.
The primary of motion.
Yes. The action in the dream is utilizing a primary reality, the pure essence of movement, even without the secondary physical reality of your legs actually moving on the floor.
So the feeling of walking is the real part.
Yeah.
Or the more real part.
In a sense, yes. The physical act is just one expression of that primary reality. The dream act is another expression. He warns them, you have to use your critical faculties.
What does that mean in a dream context? How do you do that?
It means you need to be a scientist inside your own dream. You can't just get swept away by the narrative of, being chased by a giant hamster or whatever.
Right.
You have to stop and say, okay, I am walking, but I know my body is in bed. Therefore, what is this walking? What is this reality I am experiencing right now?
It's like he's saying, don't get hung up on the physics of it. Look at the experience of it.
Precisely. He wants them to realize that the dream world has its own validity. It's not a fake version of the physical world. It's a primary version where ideas are experienced directly without the lag time and the clutter of physical matter.
And then he completely drops a bomb about time.
Oh, this is the part that made my brain hurt a little bit.
Me too. But in a good way.
In the best way, yeah. It's fascinating. Seth says you have to look out for several kinds of time in dreams.
And he gives this example where you might be dreaming about something that happened years ago. Let's say your 10th birthday party.
Right. In the dream, you are 10 years old. You are blowing out the candles on the cake. To you, the dreamer, that is the present. It is happening now.
You're not remembering it.
No, you are living it.
But physically, your body is in 1965, or for us, 2026, or whenever, lying in bed.
And Seth points out the distortion. You are experiencing a personal past event as a present reality. But that dream present is completely separated from the physical present of the body on the mattress.
He says, and I'm quoting here from the session, the present within which you seem to experience the dream is not, however, the present in physical time.
It creates this total separation. And then he gets cryptic.
Of course he does.
He says, there's a fine distinction here, for I shall not tell you all.
That is such a classic teacher move. I could tell you the answer, but you have to figure it out for yourselves.
Exactly. He wants them to learn by doing. He's hinting that time is much more fluid than we think. If you can experience the past as the present in a valid primary reality, which is the dream, then what does that say about the permanence of time?
It suggests that the past isn't gone. It's just accessible in a different state of consciousness.
Exactly. It's like channels on a TV. Just because you're watching Channel 4 doesn't mean Channel 2 stopped existing. In the dream state, you can just flip back to Channel 2, the past, and experience it as now.
He also mentions that spatial locations can be accessed out of time, too. He says you can be in a place in a dream that exists in the physical present, but you're experiencing it in the past or future.
It's basically time travel without the DeLorean.
And maybe without the paradoxes, it's just a different layer of consciousness.
So we have this setup. Dreams aren't just fluff. They are a laboratory. They are a place where primary realities like motion and time can be examined without the clutter of the physical world.
And that leads us directly to the core philosophy of this session. And honestly, this is the part that gave me a little chill.
Me too.
We are moving into section 2, the stranger in the mirror.
Or maybe the stranger in the bed.
Yeah, that's better. Seth makes this point that we are incredibly arrogant about our own identities. We think we know who we are because we know what we do from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
He says a man will not learn the basic nature of reality by studying the physical universe alone. He says we're only looking at the upper layers of egotistical awareness.
Which is such a burn. Egotistical awareness, like you're so obsessed with our physical lives, our jobs, our cars, our bodies, that we just ignore everything else.
And he uses this analogy that I found really, really powerful. He says, you know your neighbors far better than you know your own sleeping self.
That is wild. And he's right. I know my neighbor's dog's name. I know what car they drive. I know what time they take out the trash.
Right.
But do I know what my sleeping self was doing last night? Maybe a fragment, maybe nothing at all.
And here's the two-way street of ignorance that Seth points out. It works both ways.
Yes, Sam.
When you are awake, you can't find the dream locations you were in just a few hours ago. You wake up, and those streets, those houses, they are gone. You can't put them on a Google map.
Okay, sure. That makes sense.
But then he flips it, and this is the creepy part.
Lay it on me.
When you are asleep, you cannot find the street upon which you live your waking hours.
That stopped me in my tracks.
Seriously, think about it. In a deep dream state, do you know your address? Do you know your social security number? Do you know that you have a podcast recording in the morning?
Usually no. I am fully immersed in the dream logic. I'm someone else. Or I'm me, but a different version of me with different priorities.
And Seth says, the sleeping self is your identity. It's a complete identity. It has its own friends, its own places, its own logic. And it looks at your waking self as the stranger.
So we are basically living two completely separate lives.
At least two.
Yeah.
And they are compartmentalized.
Right.
Seth explains that all layers of personality are conscious. It's not that the subconscious is unconscious. It's just separated. It's like living in a duplex where the tenant downstairs and the tenant upstairs never meet, but they're both you.
And the goal here, according to Seth, isn't just to have cool dreams about flying.
No, not at all. The goal is to find the uniting realities, the points where the two worlds connect. He says that's the only way to understand the whole self.
He says only by finding these can you discover the nature of the human personality. So we have to bridge that gap. We have to introduce the neighbors to each other.
Which is what these dream experiments are for. Carrying a piece of your critical waking mind into the dream and bringing a piece of that dream reality back to the waking world.
It's integration. It's making the duplex into a single-family home.
Precisely.
Okay, so that's the heavy philosophy. That's the why are we here stuff. But Seth, being Seth, knows that humans love a good magic trick.
Oh, yeah. We love proof.
We are skeptics at heart. We need to see the rabbit come out of the hat before we believe in magic.
Absolutely.
So we move to section 3, the Dr. Instream test.
This is so fascinating because it shifts the tone of the session completely. We go from deep metaphysics to very specific, verifiable remote viewing.
So for context, who was Dr. Instream?
He was a real person, a professor, I believe, associated with the college where Jane had some connections. He wasn't in the room. He was somewhere else entirely.
And Seth, speaking through Jane, decides to, what, just pay him a visit spiritually?
Pretty much. Jane's eyes are closed. She's sitting in her rocker, and she starts describing what she sees.
And it's not vague stuff. It's not, I sense a presence, or he's feeling conflicted.
Right. It's hard data. It's verifiable.
Okay, let's list some of this because the specificity is the key. First, she describes the company. A company of 4 men and 3 women.
Specific numbers. Not a group. 4 men, 3 women.
She notes the room has a fireplace, and she deduces, so it would seem that this is not Dr. Instream's apartment.
So she's seeing the environment and drawing a logical conclusion from it in real time. She knows Instream's apartment doesn't have a fireplace, so she concludes he must be at a party or a gathering somewhere else.
And then the clock. This is the centerpiece of the whole test.
Oh, the clock.
She describes an ornate clock, gilt color, round.
And Jane always starts drawing it in the air with her hands while her eyes are closed.
Yeah.
Robert Butts is just scrambling to sketch what she's describing in the notes.
She gets incredibly detailed. The base of the clock itself is ornate with small pink flowers or figures upon it, and I believe a green felt beneath the base.
Stop and think about that. Pink flowers, green felt. That is not a generic guess. That is specific visual data.
Right. If you were faking it, you'd say round with numbers, maybe it's wood. You wouldn't say small pink flowers in a green felt base unless you were actually looking at it.
She also notes it's not an electric clock and that Dr. Instream is looking at it right at that moment.
Then she moves into what you call the gossip details.
The situational stuff. This is my favorite part.
She says Dr. Instream misplaced an item from his office, a cigarette holder or a lighter.
She says he received a letter from a former female student regarding references.
That is so specific. former female student regarding references. You can't make that up.
Then she mentions a woman who is present is wearing a large blue or gray brooch.
And finally, that there's been an unexpected change in his teaching schedule. Something about Tuesday and Thursday mornings.
What I love about this is the mix of static details, the clock, the brooch, and the dynamic events, the lost lighter, the letter, the schedule change.
Yeah.
Seth is demonstrating that he can perceive objects, but also the mental state and recent history of the person he's focusing on.
And he wraps it all up with a bit of sass. He says, "You may wish the good doctor a happy holiday for me."
It's the confidence. He knows he nailed it. He's like, my work here is done.
Now, in the notes for the session, Robert butts Jane's husband. He later confirms that the witnesses, Bill and Peggy and Jane, all drew the clock separately and their drawings all matched.
And that's really important. It validates that the description Jane gave was consistent and specific. They all heard the same words and visualized the same unique object.
It really anchors the whole session.
Yeah.
You have the philosophy of the sleeping self, which requires a lot of trust and introspection.
A lot of faith, yeah.
And then you have this Dr. Instream test, which is Seth basically saying, look, I can see things you can't see, so maybe you should trust me on the other stuff.
It establishes his authority. If he can see the pink flowers on a clock miles away, maybe he knows what he's talking about when he says we live a double life in our dreams.
Exactly. It's the spoonful of sugar that helps the metaphysics go down.
But the session doesn't end there.
Yeah.
We get into something that I find really interesting from a mechanics of channeling perspective.
Right. Section 4, the Jesuit Bill Gallagher has a question.
Bill is observant. He's been watching Jane closely the whole time. And he notices something odd.
What's that?
Jane is right-handed. But Seth, when he's using Jane's body to gesture, is using left-handed gestures.
Whoa. That is such a cool detail. It's the kind of thing you wouldn't notice unless you were really, really paying attention.
And Bill asks, what significance do you attach to the fact that you seem to be right-handed but left-handed in sessions?
And Seth's response is classic. He's almost amused that it took them this long to ask.
He says, I always use one hand and he used the other. And notice that he calls Jane, Rupert. Seth always refers to Jane as Rupert, a male name, which implies Jane's larger identity or past life identity is male-oriented in its energy.
So Seth defines himself here very clearly. He says, I am an energy personality essence, momentarily in contact with your physical system.
That's a key definition, energy personality essence. He's not a ghost, he's not a demon, he's an essence. And he explains that when he was alive, when he had a physical body of his own, he was left-handed.
So those old habits carry over?
Apparently. He says, I am allowed to operate through Rupert. He's not just sending a telepathic message that Jane reads out. He is merging with her physical system.
He's pulling the strings of the puppet, so to speak.
But he's pulling them in his way. He says, my own habits therefore show through, for I manipulate his muscles in a different way than he does.
It's like if I borrowed your car. The first thing I do is adjust the seat and the mirrors. I'm driving your car, but I'm driving it like me.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yes.
And if you were a very aggressive driver, the car would move differently than if I were driving it. Seth is a left-handed driver in a right-handed car.
But then it gets even deeper into the psychology of the medium herself, the jealous ego.
Oh, this is profound. Peggy, the cat lover, asks about changing features. She wants to know why Seth doesn't make Jane look completely different, or why he can't, change the features on a painting.
And Seth says it's actually easier to change Jane's features than a painting.
Right, because Jane can give permission. A painting is dead matter. It has no consciousness to cooperate with. But Jane is a living consciousness that can cooperate. However, there's a catch.
The ego.
The ego. Seth explains that Jane's ego loves its own physical matter.
He says his ego is his ego, and because it is his, he loves it indeed.
It's a defense mechanism. The ego's job is to define boundaries. This is me. That is not me. When Seth comes in, the ego gets nervous. It gets jealous. It holds on tight to the physical form because that's its territory.
It's like a toddler with a toy. Mine.
Exactly. Even though Jane consciously wants to channel and consciously wants proof, her subconscious ego is putting up barriers. Seth says, all egos fear that which is not ego.
That is a t-shirt quote right there.
Wow.
All egos feel that which is not ego.
It explains so much about human behavior, not just channeling. Xenophobia, fear of change, fear of the unknown. It's the ego protecting its borders.
And Seth mentions that he has to work carefully in cooperation with his ego, for we do not want to startle it.
It's a delicate dance. If he pushes too hard, the ego snaps back and the connection breaks. He has to respect the limitations of the medium.
There's a funny moment where Seth jokes about taking Jane's blood pressure or even weighing her during a session.
Yes. He says, theoretically, you could find out how much I weighed. Or if Rupert weighed less during sessions, then you would have a dilemma.
I love the idea of putting a medium on a scale while they're in a trance. It's so absurd.
It's that scientific curiosity again. Seth isn't afraid of being tested. He actually encourages it. He wants them to use their brains.
He even jokes, I hear mighty yells when my voice is out of control, but no comments when it is under control.
He wants credit for being a good driver. He's very human in that way. He wants validation from his students. He wants them to acknowledge the skill it takes to operate another person's body without breaking it.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've gone from dream walking to time distortions to the stranger in the mirror to remote viewing clocks with pink flowers to the jealousy of the human ego.
It's a tour de force of a session. It really covers so much.
If we zoom out, what is the big takeaway here? What does this mean for the listener who is, driving to work or folding laundry right now?
I think the big takeaway is that we are selling ourselves short. We define reality way too narrowly. We think reality is just what we can touch and see with our eyes open.
But Seth is saying that's just the tip of the iceberg.
It's the primary versus secondary concept all over again. The physical world is secondary. It's the result of inner realities. The dream world, the sleeping self, is closer to the source. It's where the primary work happens.
So instead of dismissing dreams as just dreams, we should look at them as data.
As a valid alternate life. When you go to sleep tonight, you aren't turning off. You are clocking into your other job. You are stepping into your other house. You are meeting your other neighbors.
And maybe, just maybe, you can learn to bridge that gap.
That's the work. That's what the early sessions are all about. It's the training ground for integrating the whole personality. It's about becoming whole.
It's empowering, but also a little terrifying.
Growth usually is.
Before we wrap up, I want to remind everyone again, this was just one session. Session 211, there are hundreds of these.
Thousands and thousands of pages of material. We're barely scratching the surface.
If this sparks something in you, don't just take our word for it. Go to the source.
Please support the publisher, New Awareness Network. Go to sethcenter.com/the early sessions. Buy the books. Hold them in your hands.
Read them before you go to sleep. See what happens. It really is a different experience reading it yourself. You catch nuances that even we miss.
Absolutely.
So here is your final thought for the night. The spooky takeaway.
I'm ready for it.
Tonight, when you lay your head on the pillow and you start to drift off, try to remember your street address.
Okay.
And then, when you find yourself walking down a street in your dream, try to remember it there too.
And if you can't.
If you can't, realize that you are a stranger to yourself. And maybe, just maybe, say hello to Seth for us.
I love that.
This has been The Deep Dive, distributed free of charge for educational purposes. We'll see you in the next reality.
Sweet dreams.